Namaste, dear ones. I am Mrs. Lou Int'l 1111 Awakening. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you go ahead and subscribe and like the video and share if you feel inclined to do so. In addition to that, feel free to comment below whatever you have in mind. I'll be so happy to read and respond. So I want to go ahead and get into the aftermath of awakening. The predecessors for many that go through the awakening process is usually the dark night of the soul. So we'll delve into the dark night of the soul at a later time. But in the aftermath of awakening, when you've gotten to the space where you are awakened, you are experiencing a deeper level of understanding the current reality and what that means for yourself on a personal level. Speaking to divine feminines, what I have realized along this spiritual journey is that there is so much more to learn. And during the aftermath process of awakening, you will be in a sense of, maybe if you have already been intuitive and sensitive, you'll be more so of that. So things that you may have formerly done, it doesn't resonate with you anymore. So for many, during this process, during this vital time in your life, when you are in the aftermath of truly awakening spiritually, you may find yourself feeling sort of isolated per se. It's important to realize that during this time, it's not that the higher power that the universe wants you to be in a space of being a hermit mode. But within this isolation, within this time of solitude, it gives you the time to truly delve deeper into aspects of learning yourself and allowing yourself to really deprogram and reprogram with new information, right? And so for me personally, I am a natural introvert, right? So I've always kind of gravitated towards being, to myself, being more reserved. But for those that may have an extroverted personality or ambivert, where you're a combination of a little of both introvert and extrovert, and you really thrive off of human interaction, right? This may be a very challenging time for you, but it's important to take the time and pace yourself and not rush into trying to force relationships. I caution you because if you are set aside within this time, it's all about divine alignment. This time is set aside in particular for you at this time so that you can recalibrate yourself. There's a time and a place for everything, and by rushing into relationships just so that you get that familiar feeling of being around others, you could be hurrying along the process of your spiritual awakening, because if you're set aside, it's meaning that you need to be in solitude. You need that time to really allow yourself to really settle into your new self, because the old self of you have died. And so in this space of being in an awakened state as a goddess, you'll find yourself really questioning a lot of things. Now, me personally, when it comes to the state of awakening and understanding things on a deeper level, even things in regard to societal beliefs, it was very jarring and straight up frightening to realize that a lot of things that I thought were truthful happened to be illusions or just basically straight up lies. But within the process of allowing myself the time to really surrender to the old belief systems that I had and allowing myself to really reinstall my mindset and my thought process and even my feelings about things with a whole new outlook, it has given me a fresher sense of belonging within this world. No matter what is going on, I'm grateful and I'm blessed to be in this space and time right now as I am. And so during this time, awakened women, if you are in a space of feeling that, okay, I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm conscious, I know what's going on per se, I'm learning. Welcome that. Don't allow yourself to feel overwhelmed by the process of, having all this new information in your palms, because it's there for you, but it's time to really ease yourself in the process of learning to be more connected with Source, more connected with the universe, more connected within yourself. And that will facilitate the process so that you can continue to walk on this spiritual path. And so you're here for a reason, and allow yourself to be blessed by the information that you now have. In a sense of being spiritually awakened, a lot of times many of us may have come from a religious background per se. Although for me personally, waking up spiritually, I've always, even as a small child, I've always thought a lot differently than others in regard to the religious perspective. I was always questioning things, although I was a very reserved and a very quiet child. I still question things, and I've always had books around me. I've always had a love. I would say books were my true first love. I've always loved books. I've always gravitated towards them. And so that information in my hands gave me a deeper sense of awareness. And although I may not have spoken about it outwardly, for myself, I knew there was more to life than what was before the eye. I also knew that in regard to deprogramming from being impoverished. Don't get me wrong, I had a very blessed childhood with my great-grandmother, and she manifested so much within our lives to the point where we really didn't go without a lot. We had a lot. And of course, when you get older, you begin to compare your lives with others, and then you get to see the light in what was going on. But regardless of that, we still were basically in poverty. And deprogramming my mind from that type of mindset early on, even as a child, I always knew that I was destined for more. I always knew that there was a deeper calling on my life, and that my environment did not reflect who I was internally. Not to say that I never had this type of cockiness per se, that I looked down on others, but I did know that I deserved a life of stability, a life of luxury, a life of generosity. And so early on, I really put forth in my mind that I was set out to live an abundant life. And so along this spiritual journey throughout my life, I discovered even more so, because like I mentioned, I've always felt like I've been awake to a certain instance, to a certain degree. But being within a fully awakened state like I am now, and having truly deprogram myself from old thought patterns and belief systems and feelings of lack and feelings of fear, and believing a lot of the dogma and the propaganda that's put out through the media. Again, I never fully believed a lot of the stuff that was in media, but however, just like a lot of other people, I kind of went along with the script of what was being fed to me. But there was always this nagging thing within my subconscious mind, now that I'm aware of what it's called, within my subconscious mind, and my ancestors speaking to me as well, giving me further insight that things that were presented to me weren't necessarily factual, even in the context of the devastation that happened with 9/11. At the time, I was a teenager when this happened. I was at school, and I remember seeing it on television, and even the images that were presented, something in my mind was telling me, and my soul was telling me, that there was a lot more to the story, that this was a lot of media, propaganda, basically, for whatever reason. To divert a bit from politics, because I don't really want to delve into that, but just for an example state of being in a spiritually enlightened place, being a spiritually awakened woman, it is purposeful in the sense that it gives you the ability to live life more so holistically as a divine feminine, as an awakened woman. When you're in a space of being unconscious, all right, being in a sleep-like state, for a woman is very dangerous. And I'll explain a little further. Especially a woman that is of Native descent, Native American, African American descent, there is a lot of lascivious propaganda that's pushed upon my people. And this is to destroy that image of the divine archetype of the original woman, which is, like myself, a Native American, African American woman, a woman of African descent, right? Through the predecessors, that's just biology. And so when you are in an unawakened state and you take in everything that's being pushed to you of what it means to be a woman of, my descent, it puts you in a sense of free fall. You are typecasted as somebody that is to be used as a tool, to be mocked, to basically be a garden tool, for lack of a better term, and to not operate within your true being as a woman of my descent is a true disservice. And by being in an awakened state, even like I mentioned early on, I've always had this keen sense of knowing, and I really chalk it up to being raised by my great-grandmother who remembers slavery, all right, and who in some aspects still experienced it, even when I was a child. Different tasks that we had to do were basically slavery. And so having her insight and knowledge and wisdom, she made a concerted effort to have us girls in particular understand our worth and to truly value ourselves. She really spoke about that. And even things that were put on television, she made it made a huge effort of letting us know things, weren't truly what was being depicted in but so many words. And so now that I'm a grown woman and being in an awakened state, I have so much more appreciation for myself as a woman, being that I'm not allowing my mind to be clouded by the things that are in media, like the love and hip hop and, the Cardi B's and, these artists that are really pushed on us as if it's something to really aspire to, when it's really a de-evolved state of a woman, right? A female, but not necessarily a woman. Anatomically, this person is a female, but not in the sense of being a true woman. A woman is about valuing herself. A woman is about integrity. And when you're in an awakened state as a divine feminine, you get to a point where you truly allow yourself to be in a state of flow. You allow yourself to not feel the sense of fear, the feelings of inadequacy, the feelings that you have to do in order to have. Those in itself, from a metaphysical standpoint, are masculine traits. And so I found within my spiritual journey, in order to stay true to myself and my own biology, even from a physical standpoint, because if women are truly honest with ourselves, we realize that when you are operating outside of your natural energies as a woman, in a sense of being overachievers, really being in these competitive fields in work environments in order to have the type of life that you see fit, it really take your body out of alignment from a physiological standpoint. So you may experience irregulations within your menstrual cycles, hormonal imbalances, in addition addition to that, emotional imbalances, all of those things, because you're not operating within your true self as a woman. And so in order to still have the life you want, we have to really begin to evolve as divine women, divine feminines, and understand that you too can be able to live a life according to your terms, without having to operate outside of your feminine principles, your feminine energy, so that you stay balanced, so that you stay healthy, so that your weight stays moderately level, right? So how do you do this? And it's just in layman terms. So if you have awakened to your true self as a divine woman, and you realize, okay, wow, I no longer want to work this very manual job that's really stressful. I have to deal with sexual harassment. I have to deal with the isms, racism, sexism, all those things. I no longer feel like these things resonate with you. Me personally, I feel like this is a divine time. When you're in an awakened state, you understand you have the ability to call whatever you want into your life. It just is about you truly believing in yourself, really calling on the creative forces from the higher power, from Mother Goddess, Father God, and allowing these spiritual principles to manifest for you through law of attraction, through law of vibration, through prayer, through faith. You'll be able to, just as I did, live life sustainably, self-sustaining on your own terms as a divine feminine. And so getting into this awakened state is about having financial freedom, having spiritual freedom, and the ability to truly live according to divine will, not live in the sense of being in the mind frame of the Matrix, where you're basically not even seen, like you're really put against men, basically, and you're deemed as just one of, you're not really set aside in a sense of truly respected and honored when you're in these spaces. So that's one aspect when it comes to being in an awakened state spiritually. When you get to this point, things begin to shift within your life. How you deal with others, how you relate to yourself will shift. And so it's important to always remember to stay true to yourself during this process, and realize that faith and utilizing that ability to surrender to the process will allow you to experience the life of wealth, the life of love and happiness that you desire. All right, so there's so many blessings in store for you now that you have awakened to your true self as a divine feminine. And I just want to encourage you to keep going. Don't go back. And really, if you're truly in an awakened state, you can't go back. And for many, that could be frustrating in itself, because you feel like, okay, now that I know a lot of these things are not true, and I am aware of a lot of different things, I don't even feel comfortable doing certain things that I used to do. I don't feel comfortable dealing with people that don't resonate with me. I don't feel comfortable with working in environments that are, negative and toxic. You will get to a space in your life where those things no longer serve you. And so to continue on your journey, don't look back. Continue to move forward. Continue to love yourself. Utilize affirmations and mantras on a daily basis. Utilize your mirror work, and you'll realize that the more you speak these positive aspects into your life, you'll begin to see it within your reality. Sometimes instantaneously, but it is all about you and what you're willing to do. Alright, so until next time, I invite you to live higher and thrive. I am Mrs. Liz MD, 1111 Awakening. Namaste, Ashe, Yo, Naku.